half of the licensed real estate agents in the industry sold exactly one home this year.
Wow, one home.
Literally one, or, zero. Not one single home, or absolutely none at all. Half the entire industry.
That is just, I mean, that's a staggering failure rate.
Right. Now, if you are running the calculus on that in your head right now, your very first instinct is probably to look at macroeconomic factors.
Oh, for sure.
You blame interest rates, you blame inventory, or maybe you assume it's simply a hustle problem. Like, a massive chunk of these professionals just aren't grinding hard enough.
Well, I mean, it's the default assumption we all make in high-pressure sales environments, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We are fundamentally wired to believe that effort correlates directly to outcome. So a catastrophic lack of output must logically point to a catastrophic lack of effort.
Or maybe just a lack of raw talent.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the sources we are looking at today completely shatter that default assumption.
You really do.
We are examining the philosophy of Chris Arnold. He's the founder and architect of a company called The Brand Within.
Right.
And specifically, we've got this bluntly honest, incredibly sharp webinar script of his. It's titled, Trust is the One Domino.
It's a great title.
It is. And Arnold argues that this massive industry-wide failure rate has absolutely nothing to do with luck. And it certainly isn't a lack of hustle.
No, not at all.
He actually identifies it as an instruction problem.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is to decode this webinar. We want to understand why so many deeply hardworking professionals are just face-planting.
Right.
And we'll explore how shifting focus away from traditional competence and toward character might be the ultimate hack for surviving in a saturated market.
I love that phrase he uses. The term instruction problem is doing a lot of heavy lifting there, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, it really reframes the whole issue.
Because Arnold is essentially saying the industry isn't failing because people aren't following the playbook. The industry is failing because the playbook itself is fundamentally flawed.
It's the wrong playbook.
Exactly. He zeroes in on a very specific high-stakes scenario. Picture an agent sitting across a kitchen table from a potential seller, trying to win a listing.
Okay. Yeah, high stress.
Very. And when that agent loses the listing, it is rarely because the seller finds them incompetent or, malicious.
Right.
They lose because they are entirely indistinguishable from the person who sat in that exact same chair an hour earlier.
They're essentially a walking, talking template.
Literally.
I mean, they use the same objection handling frameworks, the same pre-listing packets, the same artificially enthusiastic tone.
Sales voice, yeah.
Yeah. The exact same words are echoing around that kitchen, just funded by a different marketing budget.
Which is such a wild way to think about it.
Arnold leans heavily into that word, indistinguishable. Indistinguishable loses every single time. It doesn't matter if you've memorized 50 different ways to pivot a conversation about commission rates. If you sound like a script, the client tunes you out.
What's fascinating here is how Chris Arnold's own professional background informs this entire thesis.
Oh, yeah. His story is so interesting.
He is completely transparent about the fact that he was never formally taught to sell.
Which is crazy for someone in his position.
I know. He never relied on scripts. He didn't run objection handling drills in front of a mirror every morning. In fact, he never even tried to convince anyone of anything.
What did he do?
His entire approach was based on alignment. If a client was the right fit, they moved forward.
Okay.
If there was friction or a lack of fit, he was perfectly content to just walk away.
Which is practically heresy in an industry that tells you to, always be closing.
Be closing, exactly.
But he realized something profound by doing that. The agents who are actually trusted by their communities, the ones who quietly and consistently dominate their markets without burning themselves out, they are almost never the loudest people in the room.
No, they rarely are.
They aren't the ones doing the aggressive theatrical sales pitches. They are just the most authentic versions of themselves.
And that quiet observation became the genesis for The Brand Within.
Right.
He wanted to understand the architecture of that authenticity. Why does a quiet, congruent approach absolutely decimate a highly trained, scripted, high-pressure pitch?
It's a great question.
And this leads directly to the core metaphor of his webinar, the one domino.
The domino concept is so visual. I love it.
It really works.
Arnold points out that the real estate industry, and honestly the B2B sales world at large, is obsessed with selling professionals an endless supply of dominoes.
Well, endless.
You are told you need strict CRM discipline. You need a hyper-optimized content calendar.
You need a TikTok strategy.
Exactly. You need cold calling scripts, warm calling scripts, and my personal favorite, he literally says you are sold scripts for the scripts.
Scripts for the scripts. It's an entire ecosystem built on micro-optimizations. Every quarter, there's a new guru, a new software, or a new coaching program handing you yet another domino.
And they promise it's the magic one.
Right. Promising that this specific piece of plastic is the one that will finally trigger the avalanche of success you've been waiting for.
You know, it makes me think of those incredibly elaborate Rube Goldberg machines.
Oh, yeah, the YouTube videos.
Yeah. You spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of agonizing hours perfectly aligning this massive, sprawling contraption in your office.
Right.
You are polishing every little wooden track, oiling every tiny gear, setting up 20 different complicated interconnected stages just to, I don't know, pour a cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
But after all that meticulous engineering, you completely forget to bring the little glass marble to start the chain reaction.
The marble is missing.
You've perfectly arranged 19 dominoes. But if you don't knock over the very first one, the rest of the machine just sits there collecting dust. It does absolutely nothing.
That is a perfect analogy. And if we take that analogy and apply Arnold's framework, that glass marble, the very first domino that must fall before any kinetic energy transfers through the rest of the system, is trust.
Trust.
But he's reframing trust entirely here.
How so?
Well, in corporate environments, we are conditioned to view trust as a soft skill.
Oh, right, like HR stuff.
Exactly. It's categorized alongside empathy and active listening. Nice to have, great for company culture, but ultimately secondary to the hard skills of closing and negotiating.
Yeah, the real business stuff.
Right. But Arnold rejects that completely. He frames trust as a hard, non-negotiable commercial necessity.
Because if that homeowner sitting across the table, who's agonizing over what might be the single largest financial transaction of their entire decade,
Yeah, the stakes are huge.
if they do not implicitly trust the human being sitting in front of them, the Rube Goldberg machine never starts.
Never.
Your beautiful automated CRM follow-up sequence, useless.
Yeah.
Your flawless, hyper-rehearsed market analysis, irrelevant.
The client is already walled off.
They are completely walled off.
We see this constantly. Professionals build these massive, complex arsenals of sales tactics that never actually see the light of day.
Because they can't even get in the door.
Because they cannot get a prospect to sit still with their defenses lowered long enough to hear the pitch. The defenses stay up because the trust isn't there.
Right.
And I think anyone listening right now can audit their own career through this lens.
Yes, think about your own workflow for a second. How many times has your company rolled out a brand new domino to solve a slump?
Oh, all the time.
A new pipeline management tool, an AI email generator, a mandatory networking protocol.
Regulatory fun, yeah.
Exactly. And when you really look at the deals you lost, how often was the actual failure simply an inability to establish genuine trust in those first crucial interactions?
It's usually the trust.
We throw money at complex dominoes because buying a software subscription is much easier than doing the vulnerable work of building the one domino that actually matters.
Which naturally forces us to ask a larger structural question.
Okay, what is it?
If trust is undeniably the first domino, why is an entire multi-billion-dollar coaching and training industry so pathologically fixated on teaching competence?
Good point.
Why is everyone peddling tactical hacks instead of human connection?
Well, Arnold draws a brutal, incredibly sharp distinction between competence and character to answer that.
He really does.
And his perspective on competence is honestly a little jarring if you've spent your professional life hoarding certifications.
Like a lot of us have.
Right. He argues that competence has a hard ceiling.
It's a localized peak. Let's look at objection handling again.
Okay.
You only need to be as proficient at navigating a client's hesitation as the local market demands.
That makes sense.
Right. Once you cross that threshold of adequacy, your returns diminish rapidly. You can pay an elite coach thousands of dollars to get 3% better at a skill that is already sufficient.
It's just diminishing returns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Arnold describes competence as a rented asset with a use-by date.
A rented asset with a use-by date. And let's be real, that use-by date is accelerating at an unbelievable pace right now because of the AI factor.
Oh, the AI factor is huge.
We can't talk about competence without addressing the algorithm in the room. Artificial intelligence is already outperforming human competence across massive swaths of knowledge work.
It's everywhere.
Arnold points out that an AI can synthesize market comparables, analyze neighborhood pricing histories, and generate a highly optimized property description in about 4 seconds.
4 seconds.
It can draft a perfectly polite, psychologically tuned response to a demanding client at 3 a.m. without needing a coffee break.
And it does all of that at zero marginal cost.
Zero.
The entire sector of the coaching industry that monetizes the teaching of basic competence has essentially had its product line commoditized by a machine overnight.
That is terrifying for them.
It is. But this is exactly where Arnold pivots to his core solution: character.
Right.
While competence plateaus and is actively being outsourced to server farms, character compounds.
Character compounds. Because an algorithm cannot fake congruence.
No, it
It
can't.
cannot replicate genuine lived experience at scale.
Exactly.
And to explain how you actually build this compounding asset, Arnold uses this brilliant historical analogy. He talks about Michelangelo sculpting the statue of David.
I love this part.
Yeah, so when Michelangelo approached that massive block of marble, he didn't view it as a process of adding David to the stone.
Right.
He viewed it as removing everything that wasn't David.
The creation of a masterpiece is a reductive process, not an additive one.
Reductive, yes.
Arnold applies this directly to the concept of character work for professionals. The industry tells you to add layers.
Oh, always. Add this, add that.
Add this new persona, add this high-energy sales voice, add this aggressive posturing. Arnold says that is exactly backward.
You aren't trying to staple a shiny, extroverted sales personality over your actual self.
No, instead you have to chip away at the performance.
Chip away the marble.
You take a chisel to the rehearsed lines, the borrowed confidence, and the fake enthusiasm until the real, inherently trustworthy person underneath is finally given the space to breathe and be seen by the client.
Okay, I love the poetry of the Michelangelo metaphor, but I have to push back here.
Sure, go for it.
I want to play devil's advocate because, wait, but isn't competence the fundamental reason you hire a professional in the first place?
I see where you're going.
If I am selling a $2 million commercial property or entrusting someone with my life savings, I don't just want a good person with stripped-down character.
You want the expert.
I want the absolute shark. I want the spreadsheet wizard who knows tax loopholes and zoning laws better than anyone else in the zip code. Doesn't competence ultimately win the ink on the contract?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, your pushback is entirely valid. Or, well, it would be if we were operating 10 or 15 years ago.
Okay.
But Arnold's thesis relies on the reality of the modern market. Today, everyone has the spreadsheet.
Right, the data's everywhere.
The shark with the encyclopedic knowledge of tax codes. That knowledge is a Google search or an AI prompt away for any moderately capable agent.
Yeah, that's true.
Competence is no longer a unique differentiator. It is the absolute, non-negotiable baseline just to get a seat at the table.
So you're saying the wizardry has been completely commoditized?
Precisely. If 4 different agents walk into that kitchen and they all have the exact same pristine data, the exact same AI-optimized marketing plan, and the exact same baseline of competence, how does the seller actually make a decision?
They're all the same on paper.
The data cancels itself out. They are forced to choose based on what Arnold terms congruence.
Congruence.
Congruence is the seamless alignment of what you say, how you physically show up, and who you actually are at your core. It is the only undeniable, uncopyable differentiator left in a highly technical market.
Competence gets you invited to the house, but congruence is what actually gets the signature on the listing agreement.
Exactly.
That is a massive paradigm shift.
Yeah.
But it begs the question, if character and congruence are the ultimate unbeatable assets, what is stopping professionals from just dropping the act?
Right. Why is it so hard?
Why is it so incredibly difficult to just be yourself in a business setting? Arnold addresses this by dismantling what he calls the 2 false beliefs.
Yeah.
These are the insidious narratives that are quietly driving professionals' decisions without their conscious permission.
And we have to explicitly name these beliefs because, as Arnold notes, a belief you cannot see is a belief that controls you.
Ooh, that's good.
It is. The first is an internal belief, and it is deeply rooted in the psychology of the modern worker.
The internal belief. This one is tough because it's so personal.
Yeah.
It sounds like a voice in your head saying, I am not the type of person people trust with big decisions. I'm too quiet. I'm too introverted. I don't have that magnetic, room-dominating charisma required to be a top producer.
We all hear that voice sometimes.
It is this pervasive, deep-seated myth that trust requires volume and that success is genetically predetermined for extroverts.
It is an exceptionally convincing lie, especially when you're staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. wondering why your pipeline is dry.
Totally.
We have been socially conditioned by decades of pop culture and sales seminars to visualize the ultimate professional as a loud, backslapping, hyper-aggressive extrovert.
The Wolf of Wall Street archetype.
Exactly. But Arnold clinically dissects this. He argues that trust was never a personality trait handed out to a select group of extroverts at birth.
He loops it right back to that concept of congruence.
Exactly. Trust is simply the byproduct of congruence. And congruence is not a genetic lottery. It is a highly learnable skill.
You can learn it.
You can train yourself to align your external communication with your internal reality, starting from exactly the personality type you currently possess.
So no need to fake it.
There is absolutely no prerequisite to suddenly become louder, more aggressive, or more charismatic to be profoundly trusted.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because while the internal belief is something you do to yourself, the second false belief is entirely external.
Yeah, this one comes from the outside.
This one was methodically sold to you. Arnold points out that the coaching and training industry operates by selling professionals the myth of a wobbling balance wheel.
The wobbling wheel.
They convince you that there's always some tiny, microscopic part of your business that is slightly off balance. And the only possible way to stop the wobble is to buy their newest certification, their weekend boot camp, or their latest script pack.
From a purely capitalistic standpoint, it is a brilliant, if highly predatory, business model.
Yeah, predatory is the word.
The coaching industry literally manufactures just enough inadequacy to ensure that the next invoice always feels like a lifeline.
It's so manipulative.
It is a system designed to foster permanent dependency on external systems rather than developing the individual into a self-sufficient professional who no longer needs a guru.
Think about the sheer psychological weight of that phrase. Manufactures just enough inadequacy.
It's heavy.
I want everyone listening to run an audit on their own professional environment right now. Scroll through your LinkedIn feed mentally, or think about the professional development seminars your company mandates.
Oh boy.
How much of the content you consume is carefully engineered to make you feel just slightly behind the curve, just slightly out of touch, specifically so you will purchase the cure they happen to be selling?
It permeates every level of corporate culture.
It really does.
But Arnold's broader point is that this dependency model is on a collision course with the AI revolution we discussed earlier.
Right.
If an entire industry relies on selling tactical competence to cure manufactured inadequacy, and AI now provides that competence for free, the foundation of that entire coaching model disintegrates.
Okay, so we have deconstructed the problem. We know trust is the first domino.
Yep.
We know confidence plateaus while character compounds. And we know we have to reject the false beliefs of the extrovert myth and the wobbling wheel.
We've got the theory down.
Right, but how do you actually execute this? We can't just talk theory. How does Chris Arnold's company, The Brand Within, actually guide a professional to build this first domino without simply sucking them into the exact same dependency model he just eviscerated?
This brings us to the operational core of his company, the Trust Whisperer methodology.
The Trust Whisperer methodology.
Okay, this is the underlying framework that dictates how they actually teach congruence. And the architecture of this program is highly intentional.
It's not a 3-day hyped-up seminar in a hotel ballroom where you leave with a binder you'll never open.
Definitely not.
It's a 52-week curriculum. But the structural choice that fascinated me the most is that it is completely self-paced, and it is explicitly built for professionals working alone.
The isolation is the mechanism.
Really?
Yeah, they work with individual agents across 3 highly distinct markets, the UK, the US, and Australia. And Arnold makes it abundantly clear. There is no group setting.
Wow.
There is no community forum. There is no competition, no comparison, and absolutely no conformity.
Because if you put 500 agents in a Facebook group, what instantly happens?
Oh, a hierarchy forms immediately?
A hierarchy forms.
Mm-hmm.
People start posting their massive closing checks. The quieter agents start looking over their shoulders, panicking, and unconsciously mimicking the loudest, most boastful top producer in the group.
It's human nature.
If the entire goal is to act like Michelangelo and chip away the marble to find your own authentic character, you cannot do that if you are constantly looking at someone else's statue and trying to glue their marble onto yours.
Well said. Community, in this specific context, breeds conformity.
Yes.
By enforcing isolation, the program removes the audience, You are forced to confront your own values, your own voice, and your own actual comfort zones without the pressure of an artificial leaderboard.
That's incredibly powerful.
It systematically strips away the performative aspect of sales. It is also worth highlighting how the brand within structures its own finances, because it speaks directly to that concept of congruence.
Oh yeah, the charitable aspect.
Right. 50% of their recurring revenue is diverted to charitable causes. The growth of the company is intrinsically tied to impact outside of their own profit margins.
That structural integrity extends to how you actually access the material too. Arnold offers what he calls 2 doors.
2 doors, yeah.
Door 1 is a standard membership. Ongoing access to the full 52-week arc, navigating the character development process over a year.
Standard stuff.
But Door 2 is the wild card. Door 2 allows you to buy the entire Trust Whisperer framework outright.
Just buy it flat out.
One single payment. You own the intellectual property for your own use. No subscriptions, no recurring monthly fees.
Which is a direct structural defiance of the wobbling wheel dependency model he critiques. He is giving the professional the option to own the solution completely.
But from a strictly business perspective, why on earth would a founder build a model that actively tries to eliminate its own customer base?
It sounds counterintuitive, right?
Ending recurring revenue seems like a terrible way to scale a tech or coaching company.
This raises an important question about the nature of selling trust. If Chris Arnold's core thesis is that the traditional industry creates toxic, parasitic dependency, and his entire brand is built on trust and congruence,
Oh, I see where you're going.
the only logically congruent business decision he can make is to offer an exit strategy.
Wow. Yep.
He has to empower the agent to eventually stand on their own 2 feet, free of his instruction. To illustrate this, he quotes the French poet Guillaume Apollinaire. They came, and he pushed, and they flew.
I absolutely love the visual of that quote.
The curriculum is explicitly designed to render itself obsolete.
Obsolete. That's so rare.
True instruction isn't about holding someone's hand indefinitely while charging them a monthly fee. It's about pushing them toward the edge of their own capability, trusting that the character they've uncovered is strong enough to let them fly on their own.
That is the ultimate manifestation of trust.
It really is.
So what does this all mean for us? We have covered massive philosophical ground today, digging into a perspective that challenges the very foundation of how we define professional success.
We definitely covered a lot.
If we synthesize all of the sources, the takeaway is stark. The professionals who dominate the next decade of business are not going to be the ones who discover a clever new way to perform trust at a higher volume.
No, the performance is over.
They won't be the ones with the most aggressive AI-driven follow-up sequence.
The winners will be the individuals who cultivate implicit, unshakable trust through genuine congruence.
Yeah.
Arnold distills the entire philosophy into a strict order of operations. Become trusted first, get the instruction, deliver the promise.
That's a great sequence.
That sequence is immutable. You cannot deliver on a promise if you haven't received the instruction, and you will never even get the chance to instruct if you haven't become trusted first. The industry constantly tries to reverse this order, and it fails every time.
Become trusted first. I want to read the final lines of the webinar transcript because they serve as a perfect anchor for everything we've discussed.
Yeah, read them.
Arnold writes, "Worth knowing, not simply well known." And he closes the presentation with this challenge. "I sell the idea of trust. Want to buy some? Go be trusted."
It's a brilliant distillation of the work, and I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. But let's take this outside the realm of real estate or corporate sales.
Oh, okay.
Think about your closest personal relationships, your friendships, your dynamic at family gatherings, your partnership.
The personal stuff.
How much of your interaction in your personal life is built on a sort of social competence? You know, saying the right lines, playing the expected role, managing the optics, versus genuine congruence.
That's deep.
If dropping the performance and chipping away the marble is the ultimate separator in a cutthroat multi-million-dollar sales environment, imagine the depth of trust it could unlock at your own dinner table.
That is a phenomenal question. What happens when the performance stops? Not just at the office, but everywhere. We want to sincerely thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you take this framework with you and maybe take a hard look at your own Rube Goldberg machines this week. Make sure you haven't forgotten the marble. Until next time.